All right, everybody, welcome, welcome. Bear with me on my sound. I will get everything cleared up as soon as I'm done talking. I'm actually coming at you with the rest of the guys, but on my behalf at the live show with Black Veil Brides and in this moment in Silver Spring, Maryland, coming out to support. So before I get into introducing our guests and all that goodies, I've got to give a quick shout out to TMS alumnus, to the Metal Summit alumnus, Jake Pitts, for his hospitality tonight and letting me come out and enjoy the show. So Jake, thank you so much, man. Your set absolutely killed. It was fantastic. But as I always, we are your island of misfit toys for Angel Alamo. We've got Bobby Dreyer. We've got the Psycho Steve, and I'm Jay. We are about to have another bitchin' episode with you guys tonight because we've got Howie Simon in the house. How are you, brother?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for taking some time out. So first and foremost, man, why don't you jump right in? Tell us a little bit of what you've got going on right now, man, and how you feel about getting music back.
Apparently what I have going on doesn't look like as much fun as what you got going on there. I'm sitting here like a schlub and you're at the party. I'd rather be at the party. There's the party right there.
It's always a party.
But that's the thing that we love, though, is getting like back out on the scene, supporting live music, and doing all that kind of stuff that keeps, you performing and playing and writing. Because, I mean, you've got such a great history of, Striper and Winger and Jeff Scott Soto and all that kind of stuff. So we're just super stoked to have bands that are allowing us to come out to have a little bit of fun and stuff like that, man. But so we gotta get you out and about some more, my friend.
That's a very important point, is supporting live music right now. That's an excellent thing you said, because I think it's needed now more than ever. We're finally starting to see maybe an end in sight to the last year and a half, and people need to realize that they have to get out and support shows. I actually, this past weekend, Friday, I went to see Kip Winger do his acoustic duo thing that he does, which was fantastic. And Saturday night, I went to see my friends in Y&T, who played here in the LA area. So
yeah,
two great shows. And a week before that, I went to see Christopher Cross, who was amazing. So I've been getting out and doing, and trying to support as much as I can when I'm not playing.
Absolutely, brother, 100%. I'm kind of moving my way around the venue a little bit, seeing if I can make life a little bit easier. And I think I found exactly what I need, which is a table. So, Bobby Dreyer, let's bring you in, my good dude, and why don't you kick off this next segment, man?
So, Howie, I love the fact that you got to play with a lot of my idols. So you played with Striper, who I've known, going all the way back to '84. I want to dive into that a little bit. How did you and Michael wind up getting together? And there's a couple things there. I mean, with Oz having the brain surgery and that, but how did that all come about?
Well, I'm actually friends with Oz and have been really good friends with Oz for, years. I think I met him 10, 15 years ago, and we became pretty close friends. I don't even remember how we met, through mutual friends, maybe at a NAMM show, but I don't remember. It's been so long. So him and I have always been close. And when I was, it was like, I think around 2013, when I was still playing with the modern version of Alcatraz with Graham Bonnet, we were on the Monsters of Rock cruise, and Striper was on as well. And like on the days off and downtime, I found myself hanging around with the Striper guys quite a bit, especially, Oz, and I met Michael then, and I met the wives and stuff like that, and just always got along great. So when Oz went through his first seizures in like 2018, I think they realized that they had just a handful of gigs that they could not get out of contractually. And Oz, being he's like the nicest guy in the world. If you don't know him, he literally is the coolest person. He didn't want the band and the crew and management and the venues. He didn't want anybody missing out on possible income because of, his health problems. So he reached out to me and asked me if I would do it. And I said, of course. But that being said, I play in a thing called scrap metal, which is run by one of the Nelson brothers, Gunnar Nelson.
I'm very close with Matthew and Gunnar. My
Yeah.
buddy Neil Zaza played with who've done my albums, Neil and Bobby Rock and everybody else.
The first few Nelson gigs I did, like back 10, 11 years ago, Neil was on the gig with me. We did it together.
You and I were together in Pennsylvania at Penn's Peak years ago when Neil was doing my first album.
Oh, okay. So the scrap metal thing that I did, it's like an all-star thing that the Nelson guys do. And Michael wound up being one of our guests before I did the Striper gig, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And so he knew, like, we just did 3 or 4 Striper tunes. So he knew that I could do it and sing the parts and play the parts, yada, yada, yada. So there was no hesitation or tryouts or anything. The first gig I did was in 2018. It was at the Grand Rocktoberfest in Hinckley, Minnesota. And all we did was get together in a hotel room the morning of the gig and run through the beginnings and endings of songs. They had sent me a set list. And Oz is cool enough that we have an app called Marco Polo. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
Marco Polo is an app you download. It just lets you leave a video message for somebody, and those video messages just sit there, and then you can respond to them when you get a chance. And they can be longer, and there's more stuff you can do with them than just leaving a video in a regular chat or whatever. So Oz went through while he was sick with his, tumors, and played through each video he would send me. He would play through the song, like, okay, here's Soldiers Under Command. Here's my part. Here's what I sing. And he would just play through the song, and then he'd leave me another song and leave me another song. So anytime I needed to refer back to which part am I supposed to be doing, or, what am I supposed to be singing, I just would go to the video, and I still have them, and I just call them up and learn the songs from that.
That is, amazing. So before I'm going to jump off, this is a great thing about Oz.
You don't have them in the closet there, do you? Oh, okay.
Pretty much. So like you, I'm a guitar gear whore, and buddy of mine, and you probably know him. So Michael Charvel, when Michael was doing, his Wayne guitars, Michael built this. Oz came over. I think you and I met. Neil was there. It was right when Neil left court and everything. So Oz sat there and goes, me and Michael were arguing, and Oz came over and goes, I really want that guitar. I said, sorry, I own it. And Oz wrote on the back of it, he goes, great, thanks, guitar, nice guitar. Wish I owned it, this and that. I just think that's so cool. I know how Oz is. And
can you hold that up closer to your camera and let the light focus? I can't really see it. I don't. Oh, wow. That's cool. That's great.
So, yeah, I mean, that's amazing. Oz doing that. And it's rare that an artist will go above and beyond to help a predecessor out. And that's how they were. Look, I remember when the Yellow and Black Attack came out, I was doing, Doug Pinnick and I have been friends now since '83, and when he was doing stuff. But that whole period when they broke, Oz has been probably one of the most genuine artists that I've ever, he and Michael and Robert and Tim Gaines. I mean, what a bunch of sweetheart guys.
Yeah, I never met Tim because Perry was in the band by the time I started. So I never got to play with him or meet him and stuff. But Oz still, even now, he's doing really well, by the way. As an update, he's had both of his tumors removed.
Yeah.
They're still considered benign. They were growing in size, but they weren't spreading. So the word cancer was not used. So he had the first one, the big one in the back of his skull, pulled out earlier in the year here in LA at UCLA.
Yeah.
And a day after his surgery, where they cracked his head open, I got a call. He was calling me, and I figured it was his wife giving me an update. And I answered the phone thinking it was her, and it was him. He said, "Hi, princess." And I said, dude, didn't you just have brain surgery like yesterday? And he was, yeah, man, I feel great. They said I can get out of here tomorrow. You want to go get some sushi? I'm like, what? So that was great. And then at the end of August, which was 3 or 4 months later, he had, the other one was called an acoustic neuroma, I think it was called.
Yeah.
It was deep in his ear canal.
Yep.
And unfortunately, the tumor kind of grew and permeated and spread around his eardrum. So they had to cut the eardrum out. So he has lost his hearing in that ear. That being said, you know, it's going to take a little bit of adjustment, but his body will get used to that. And I think by next year, you know, it'll just be a weird memory for him, and he'll be totally back to normal. There was he lives in Las Vegas. There was a Van Halen tribute night with a bunch of guitar players maybe a month ago there, and he already got up and played and did great. So he's going to be fine.
That's just so cool. And again, going back to the whole thing, one thing I really want to throw out real quick: how did you and Neil Zaza connect? You know,
I think the first gig we did was one of those scrap metal gigs. I knew who he was. He's a great guitar player. So, I mean, everybody knows who he is, I think, in my world. But the Nelson guys brought us in together to do a gig. I think it was Mohegan Sun in Connecticut was our first gig together. And we got along great. I don't see him or talk to him much, but every time I do, it's kind of like no time has passed. He's funny. I like hanging out with the guy. He's got a great sense of humor, and he's an amazing guitar player.
Yeah. You know, I've been a fan for years. And then when I was doing my first album back in 2009, I reached out to him, and he's like, hey, come up to Akron. And he goes, I said, well, what about a drummer? He goes, I got a drummer. He brought Bobby in. So Bobby did like 5 tracks on my first album. And I'm going, oh my God, I got fucking Bobby Rock, Neil, but Neil's a sweetheart and a half. I mean, what, you know, a great guy. And the Nelson brothers are.
When I still lived in Buffalo back home in the late 80s, early 90s, his band, they were just called Zaza.
Zaza.
Yeah, they came and played a couple times. I saw him before I knew him, but I went to see him, and I just remember thinking, this guy smiles too much when he's playing. He's a little too happy. He needs to be more pissed off looking.
Yeah, but you think about it. The other guy who smiled that much, and we lost him last year, was Eddie. And,
yeah,
you know,
that's true.
Really, I mean, look.
But I'm like, you know, I grew up with Yngwie and Richie Blackmore and guys that were always scowling. So I thought that was the cool thing to do back then.
But nobody remembers their solos. Always remember that. You know, look, Eddie did 8 bars and had that shit-eating grin on his face. And it was like,
That is true.
You know, but that's awesome. I mean, look, so did you do any of the gigs down in Nashville when you were doing them at the Wild Horse and that?
With Striper, you mean?
No, with Scrap Metal.
What did we do? No, I have not.
Kelly Keagy was on board, and you know they were doing them all there.
I did not. That one might have been before my time with Scrap Metal. I've never played in Nashville with them. I played the band Nelson gig in Nashville maybe 5 or 6 years ago. One of those farm rock things that I guess isn't happening anymore. But it was just me, the 2 guys, and a different drummer. Scotty Trammell was playing drums.
Yeah.
So we were just a 4-piece. But no. But I heard about those gigs before I was in the band.
Very cool. Jay, back to you, brother.
Absolutely, man, for sure, 100%. And before I kick it over to Angel and how the Metal Summoners are doing, what I actually wanted to ask you a little bit about, Howie, since you kind of brought it up, was a little bit about scrap metal and how you got involved with that in the Nelson Twins. And does that stem from playing with Nelson? Is that really the best way to describe like how that overall gig came about and playing those shows?
Yeah, most people know that I play with, or I used to play with Jeff Scott Soto a lot. We don't really do it that much anymore, just some recording here and there. But through Jeff and I met playing. It's a long story. I'll spare you because you can find it probably online or whatever. But Jeff and I used to do a regular weekly indoor full court basketball game together with a bunch of friends. And one guy that Jeff brought in was a guitar player named Ben Carey, who was in the band Savage Garden, that Australian band. Ben's Australian.
Yeah.
And then he also recently played in that band Lifehouse, that like more alternative modern band. I guess Ben was friends with Matt Nelson through some other project they did together. And Neil, what I was told anyway by those guys, was they had some gigs coming up. This was 2010. Neil was doing the gigs, Zaza, and he was busy. Like I know he was going to China a lot and playing.
Yeah.
He had some stuff coming up, and they needed somebody for some gigs. And they asked Ben to do it, but he was busy, so he recommended me. So indirectly through Jeff Soto, through another friend, I went. Matt was still living in LA at the time, but Gunnar was already in Nashville. Gunnar was out here for something, and I met them at a Starbucks and just had a short meeting with the two brothers. They shook my hand and said, "Welcome to the band. We'll send you the songs." And that's when I started playing with them. So a year later, and at that point, scrap metal wasn't that busy, but a year later, they said, "Hey, we got this thing called scrap metal." They explained what it was. And they said, "Well, you want to do it?" I'm like, "That sounds amazing. I get to play, with different people every gig. There's always a different guest. You're always learning new stuff, which is more fun for me because I don't like to do the same thing over and over and over and over again." And I just said, yeah. And the first scrap gig I did, Neil was back and we did it together. So the answer to your question is yes.
No, cool, man. That's super duper awesome for sure, man. Definitely. And what is it about like playing like with those guys? Because you played with such an array of different kind of talent from everybody that we've already talked about. But was it about playing with like the Nelson twins in particular? Because I've always found them to be very underrated guitars and bass players, just musicians in general, because people kind of look back at, their main videos and stuff like that. But what was it with you playing with them that you took away that you thought was particularly cool about their showmanship?
They're fucking amazing, man. They write great tunes and their singing is off the charts. And because they're twins, they have this innate sense of each other. Like a lot of the times during our gigs, they'll do a little break in the middle and do 2 or 3 songs just acoustic, just the two of them, while the band takes a break. And I sit and stare at it every time we do it. I'm never tired of it. They have a song called "The Thousand Wild Horses" that they do. Their vocals are just, there's something about the way they blend, because they sing similar, but they still sound different. Like most people, like they look and sound the same, but I can see and hear the differences between them. But the blending of their voices, and I like to sing and I sing a lot. So, to learn how to fit in with them, like I just posted on my Facebook memory that popped up from, we did the Arizona State Fair a couple years ago, and they would let me do a Doobie Brothers song, Long Train Running, that I like to do live. And the three of us harmonizing, you can watch it on my Facebook. It just, they sing so great, man. And they're world-class musicians. Gunnar's always writing and recording. Matt, bass playing, is like super in the pocket and just feels great. And I love playing with them.
That's awesome, man. That's so super duper cool. Yeah, I've always enjoyed watching those guys. They've always also seemed like really, really straight up cats. Love their fans, love just people in general. And they've always come across as like really, really cool guys. So that's super duper awesome to hear from somebody that's in their inner circle for sure. Angel, my good dude, let's bring you in, man. How are you this evening and how are the Metal Summoners?
I am awesome, and so is everybody. We're all happy to have you on our show, so thank you for your time this evening. Got a good question from Candy Burton. She wants to know, what was it like working with Jeff Scott Soto?
What was it like? That's a pretty broad question. I mean, we still do stuff together. I just played he has a brand new solo record out called, what's it called? Duets. The Duets Collection Volume 1, where he went, Jeff's been in a bazillion bands and projects. Yeah. He went back, him and his record company, Frontiers, went back and handpicked a bunch of songs that Jeff's pretty known for. And he re-recorded them. And for each song, he had a guest singer sing it with him. So that's why it's called duets. So Eric Martin sings a song with him. Russell Allen sings a song with him, and there's a whole bunch of Dino Jalusic sings one of the songs that I did. Mats Levin, the Swedish singer, a good friend of mine, sang the other song that I did. So I went back and re-recorded an Yngwie Malmsteen song that he did when he was a kid, and him and Dino co-sang it. We did a video for it that's out on YouTube now. Jeff and I sometimes butt heads on certain things, but it's almost like we're brothers. We enjoy the argument with each other rather than hate the argument with each other. But lately, I did a record with him, and the last like full record I did with him was 2017. Actually, just came out, like the anniversary of that record was yesterday, I think. Album's called Retribution. We both co-wrote the whole thing and co-produced it. I played guitar and bass on most of it. Jeff sang and wrote all his lyrics, melodies, and played a lot of the keyboards. And we had a Brazilian drummer named Edu Cominato playing the drums on the whole thing. But like a lot of the time with Jeff and I nowadays, anyway, when we write or do stuff, I'm just doing, my home studio is right here in front of me. I don't have the cool camera angle like Bobby does, where you can see all my stuff. Actually,
Wow.
But
My stuff's in the other room.
Yeah, we just do it through email. Like I'll record my tracks at home and send them to him, and he'll record his vocal and send it back to me, and literally that's it.
Oh. My question to you is, you've traveled, been to many different places. What are some of the places that you like performing in? I know people are always curious of, what it's like performing in Europe or what it's like performing in Japan.
I've seen a lot of shit, man.
Oh, I love that.
I think I'm starting to get buzzed over here. It's, every place is different. Like it's been a while, but I've been to Japan, I think 4 times, and I love playing there because the audience is super appreciative. Here in LA, everybody's jaded. We've seen it all and done it all. So when I play hometown with anything I'm doing, it's kind of like, we've seen this. Go fuck yourself, that kind of thing. But Japan is like, it's weird because they're super quiet when you're playing. Like you could hear a pin drop. And then when you're done, it's a big burst of applause for the proper amount of time, whatever that is, and then back to silence again. And they wait for the next song. Shh. But that being said, I mean, I did some shows with Jeff in, I don't know, for some reason, Madrid, Spain sticks out to me always as like a place that the gigs just had a really cool vibe. We were there a few times, and I remember like, man, this is a place I want to keep coming. Sao Paulo, Brazil was great. But I played, I think, like I counted at one point, it was like 22 or 23 countries with both Alcatraz and Jeff and another guy I used to play with in the 90s. But like lately, the last 10 years or so, most of my stuff's been just here in the States. And I like, as I'm getting older and becoming a cranky old man, I sort of prefer that. You can tell, like, whoever's asking that question, like the middle of this country, of the US, this kind of music, like the hard rock stuff, is still more alive and more appreciated than it seems to be on the coast where everybody's jaded and I've seen it all and done it all. If that answers any kind of question there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Bobby's back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh.
The reason why I wanted to do this, so I want to be, Howie, look, we're going to take a little trip right now. Wait, let me turn this on. So I'm kind of the gear whore of the Metal Summit. So here we are in my studio. As you can see, I have a lot of toys in here. A lot of toys.
I hope music-related toys.
You probably have more stuff. That looks like more stuff than I have.
There's a lot of things in here. Look, I work with a good friend of mine who's done stuff with Michael and Oz, Mr. Adam Reaver of FU-Tone.
Oh, I got FU stuff and even that guitar.
Oh, yeah. Look, Adam does all my, He's the only one I will let touch my back end, other than Tony.
What about? But who gets to touch your guitars? Hey-o.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So I gotta ask. Look, what's your go-to guitar? What is that thing that mine is the one I have in my hand at the time? Everybody goes, what's your favorite? I'm going, well, depends what I'm fucking playing at the time.
Well,
but
yeah,
what is that thing that look, you
can't.
played with a lot of people. I've noticed, and I love that you were an HS3 person. I love that. Big DiMarzio guy myself. So
I was a long time ago. I was a long time ago.
Guitar?
I was an HS3 guy, but I've seen a long time ago I got rid of those because they were such an old technology, and they sent me something else that when I got hooked up with DiMarzio and started endorsing them officially, they said, you don't even want to play these anymore. We don't want people playing these anymore. They're so old. And it was meant to be a jazz pickup. They didn't want Yngwie playing them. They're like, dude, these don't sound good. And he was like, I love them. And they're like, no.
I know.
But I can't, I wish, I mean, I can answer the go-to guitar question, but like certain gigs require a certain guitar. I had to buy, especially starting with Stryper 3 years ago, and really not, I'm hoping that I never have to play another Stryper gig again. You know, I don't belong in the band. It's Oz's gig. You never know, but I just really hope that he comes back 100% and that I can be a fan again. But so I needed to get a couple of guitars with Floyd Roses. I don't know how much your audience here on this show is gear oriented. We
are so gear oriented. Look, I do a segment on here. How good do you know your wood? So, let's
yeah, but what about the gear questions?
Oh, our audience
he did
look around this freaking room.
Stay with me, Bobby. This my humor comes quickly. I just got 2 guitars with Floyd Roses a couple years ago because of the Stryper thing. The first year that I did the Stryper thing, I didn't have a guitar with a Floyd. I have a friend of mine with a collection of guitars. I think it's worth about $250,000. He's got a ridiculous collection. And I borrowed a super high-end ornate Sir custom modern that he paid like $8,000 for. He let me borrow it. It has the most amazing finish. You can see pictures of it online if you look at me playing with Stryper in 2018. But it was green and it didn't fit the band. It was what I had at the time. And I got home from the shows I did. This guitar is insane with the detail that's carved into the neck and the front. I can't describe it. And I looked at it after I got home and I put a fucking ding right in the body from traveling. Oh, he's going to kill me. So the next year rolled around and I realized I can't ask him to borrow that again. So I had to buy a couple things. I got a Friedman Cali, which I absolutely love. And my buddy John Bingham at Boutique Amp Distribution hooked me up, who run the Friedman warehouse. And I also went on, that's that guitar there, if you can see it. And then I went on Craigslist and I bought a Sir Modern Satin, a black one, and I put yellow pickups in to match the Stryper thing. And I really like that. But if you want, I mean, my main guitar that I've had, is that it? Yeah. This guitar I've had since I was in 10th or 11th grade. It's a 72 Strat that I got around 85.
Ooh, nice.
It used to have all the paint on it.
Getting moist.
Oh.
But I actually wish there was more paint here still. I like a beat up guitar, but this is too much. But it's just, my sweat has just corroded the hell out of this. These are.
So this is my first one right here, which is my 1982 Kramer Pacer American.
Wow, those are hard to find now.
Yeah, but I put Brian May, original DiMarzio Brian May pickups in it with a PAF Fred pickup in the back.
Those are great. These are DiMarzio. The bridge and the neck have DiMarzio virtual solos, which is what I put in all my Strats now. That's my pickup. This has been refretted 2 or 3 times. It has a brass nut. All the electronics have probably been changed at some point. It is an actual 70s Fender bridge, but it's not the original one, because the original one, the bar went through the block and broke. So everything's been replaced. It's been made into a 4-bolt neck by a guy named Charlie Hamilton, who built the Hamilton guitar that Stevie Ray Vaughan used in a couple of his videos way back in the day. So this has had a lot of stuff done to it, but this is the most comfortable old shoe guitar that I have. It feels
so it's like wearing a pair of Chucks on stage.
Exactly.
All right, I'm going to throw it back. Look, we're going to go back to gear questions and everything. Look, as you can see here, there's a lot of Pauls here, and I'm not talking Stanley, but and a couple of them, a couple here were owned by Neil Sean. I have a 59 in here, so
wow.
I just love guitars. To me, it's kind of like, it's like sex with a fat chick. They're always fun to ride.
Okay.
Not that I've had sex with a fat chick in a long time.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm.
Keyword in a long time, which means you probably did it.
Why don't we go to Jay and see what the party's like there?
Yeah, let's see what's going on, Jay.
Jay.
Oh, it'll be fun to see.
I'm here.
We're just wondering how the party's going there.
The party's here, baby. But yeah, dude. So I mean, yeah, just like what you were saying, Howie, is our fan base have kind of become like gear educated because of the segments that Bobby and I like to do about how much we love talking about guitars and basses and all that kind of stuff.
Ah, cool.
So like, do you find yourself mostly like a Fender guy, like preferably, like that's just where home is? Have you like experimented with Deans or Les Pauls at all?
I have an old Les Paul sitting over there too that I can show you in a minute. It's a 74, and I love it, and I record with that mostly because it's just, it sounds huge. But the Strat is something that I've had most of my life, so it's more comfortable. It just feels right to me and comfortable. I never did the Flying Bees or the Destroyers or the weird shaped Deans. That was never my thing.
For sure, man. I definitely get you on that one, man. Definitely. I kind of go a little bit all like over the place. I had my like love affairs when it came to like metal looking guitars and stuff like that. But then kind of eventually, depending on your style, how you like to play them, the feels kind of like stops like being like right and stuff. So I tend to like gravitate towards like Fender body type guitars, not necessarily Fenders, but like Fender bodies. I do have a Les Paul bass that I prefer to play a lot of the time. That's really, really cool. And I actually did, though, just get my hands on a Dean fretless bass, which plays like really, really smooth. It's a very buttery playing bass, and I'm a big fan of doing that. But when it comes to guitars, I tend to find myself more in like that kind of Les Paul style, because I also like my guitars to be a little bit smaller because my hands are a little bit small. So like I try not to do too much in the way of like 7 strings or 8 strings, but also not only the body type, the neck width, I need them to be a little bit more in like a chiller style, something that I can really work my hands around the fretboard, just because my hands are a little bit on the smaller side.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For sure, man. But Angel, let's kick it back up to you, man. Are the Summoners doing good? And a question from yourself?
They are doing good. They love the education that we provide on gear. Just want to ask a question. Do you, again, just kind of curious to ask, do you write songs? And if you do, what do you prefer?
Where are you seeing the questions? I don't see any. Am I supposed to be reading?
No, that's my question.
Oh, do I write? Yeah, that record I did with Jeff, 2017. We co-wrote the whole thing together. Basically, what I did was, I don't play drums, but I can program drums like a mother. I can make them sound like really close to real drums. And I'll program the drums. I'll play all the guitars, bass, arrange the song, and send it pretty much complete. No solos, no vocals, no melody, but it'll have a beginning, it'll have a middle and an end perfectly the way I want it. And I'll send it to Jeff, and most of the time he just takes it as is. He'll write his lyrics and his melody, and we'll send it to a real drummer who will record the drums the regular way. And sometimes we'll leave the demo guitar and bass on. Sometimes I'll just redo it real quick, and there's the song. It's pretty simple. But yeah, I mean, I wrote most of that record. I think there's only like 1 or 2 songs on it that I didn't have anything to do with.
And we just have just fan comments. Brian, I love the sound and feel, but he keeps the Charvels because of the similar feel without the crazy tips.
Tips? What's a tip?
I know Brian could answer that.
I think he's talking about the body shape, where like with BC Riches, they tend to have.
Oh, you mean the pointy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what he's
Oh.
talking about is the body shape.
Oh, what's your go-to strings?
I prefer guitar strings.
No, what Gage? What are you going for?
I know that just. And Brian, thanks for the question, buddy. Don't take offense, but I'm very sarcastic.
No,
You should know that.
so
up
was
front.
Brian. Brian be
Okay.
asking some
Okay.
fun questions.
To me, that's what kind of strings and picks do you use is the silliest question.
No, look, like I said, Zaza used to bitch at me. I'm a big 8s and 9s guy, and he was like, I'm like, stop, because
No,
I'm like,
I'm sure Brian has been, who asked the question, has been playing guitar a very long time, maybe longer than me, and I'm sure he has picks and strings that he likes. So what is it? It doesn't. I would just, is it curiosity, or is he thinking about switching to something? Because I've been using the same picks and strings since I was a kid, and never ask anybody what they use, because Frank, to me, it's good. Like, I don't care what anybody else uses. Like, I like what I like, and I don't get offended. I'm not being a jerk. I'm just saying to me, it's just a goofy question.
oh,
You should see the questions Bobby
If you
be
want
asking.
to know, I'm actually a D'Addario artist. I've been using D'Addario strings since, God, man, I was in probably 7th or 8th grade in high school, and got hooked up with them in the 90s. And to me, there's no better feeling string than those. I can tell when there's not a set of those on there.
I'm a 942 guy. I like mine, like, bologna,
9 to 40,
ham and
9
cheese.
9 to 42, right here.
Yeah, there's just nothing about it, and I know the color scheme, and I'm like, look,
Yeah.
it's like reading rainbow.
I don't want them to feel like, rope or cables under my hand, like big, thick strings.
Look, I studied jazz, and you know that. I played flat wounds for a while, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, really? It's like reading Braille when you're playing shit that thick. It's like,
No, I know. I'm really good friends with Richie Kotz, and I'm over at his house a lot. And
Cool.
like, he's got guitars laying around everywhere, and I don't ever pick them up because he's got 11s on him. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Why do you want to struggle and fight? Like, why do you not want to make life easy on yourself? Like,
that shit'll give you tendonitis. It's like masturbating for 20 hours.
Well,
if you can do it, but the carpal tunnel.
Bobby, that's just so you can build up the guns, man.
But look, the thing I found out, and again, I'm going to go back to my buddy Adam Reaver. It's really not about the strings; it's about the components on the guitar. And look, I was there when Adam did Michael's guitars and everything. It really is putting quality parts in, and we've all swapped things out. Everybody, from our heroes, Ace Frehley changing X, Y, and Z. You want the guitar to be as personal as it's an extension of yourself.
That's a good point, and that's why, other than frets, and when I say frets, I mean replacing them. other than replacing frets, I do all my own work myself. I set up my own guitars. I do the pickups. I dress my own frets if they need it, because I don't think anybody can set a guitar up the way I want it to feel. I can tell them all I want, but I'm always having to tweak something. So I don't even take my guitars to anybody unless there's a major issue.
Look, I have guys who do mine and this and that, and everybody likes their action a different way. I love really cranking my neck down. I love a flat radius. And that's what it is. It's kind of, I'm like Linus. Everybody has that blanket that makes you feel like, oh, this is my whoopee. It's, you plug it in and you're going, oh, it just feels so good. But then you play some. Look, I can't play Eddie Van Halen's guitar or Nuno's guitar and sound like Nuno. I don't want to. I love the guys, or Zach or this and that. And it's, but that's what makes everybody an individual and that tonality.
When I first got the Floyd Rose guitars, 2 years I've had them now. I keep thinking it's been a year, but as we know, we all lost last year. It just became like a forgotten.
Did we have a year? Yeah,
exactly. So when I first got the 2 Floyd Rose guitars, I was having some issues with a couple things. And Michael Sweet told me, you got to call this guy Adam River from If You Don't he will help you. And I don't know him. I've never met him in person, but I called him and said, hey, my name's Howie. I'm doing some gigs with Stryper and I fill in with Winger regularly. And I just bought 2 Floyd Rose guitars and I need some, and he sent me all kinds of stuff. So I have his titanium blocks in both my guitars. I have his noiseless springs in the back.
Yep.
And he's been super helpful. Anytime I have a question, I hit him up. I think the next thing I want to get, save up a little money, and maybe for Christmas, I want to get his bridge, Floyd Rose, the titanium bridge inserts.
Oh, they're amazing. They're on he does all my guitars. There's a lot of things, even with my Bigsby's. I mean, he's got the spoilers on it for like when I'm doing blues gigs on my Gretches and this and that. But Adam's, that guy. If you look at the fucking D-tuner.
If you look at Adam's social media pages, it seems like he knows everybody.
Well, we grew up together. Adam owned a fucking gas station. He met Eddie at the fucking ramp in the back of the Spectrum. It's just, you know what it is? It's that thing. Look, we've all been to NAMM. There's a reason there's a Seymour Duncan. There's a reason there's a Floyd Rose. There's a reason there's a DiMarzio. But when you put them all together, it's like a great stew.
Yeah. All these guys are geniuses that you're mentioning, and thank God that we have the choice to customize and personalize things like we do that, the guys in the 70s and even the early 80s didn't have.
Yeah, but then you look at the guys like Jimmy Page and Joe Walsh and everybody who were ripping things apart and putting them back together, Frampton and that.
Yeah.
Look, we all know there are people 3 notes into their playing, you go, I know who that is.
Yeah. I hope to someday get to that point where people go, oh, it sounds like.
But today, it's very hard to decipher. And a lot of it came from modeling. I don't want to say technology, but, too many people get caught in a box. Thank God we grew up in an era of the Randy Rhodes, the Richie Blackmores, the Framptons, the Ted Nugents, the guys who really made us just go, the Angus, here's a guy who took a fucking SG and just kicked your ass across the stage.
Yeah, that's true.
For sure.
And the same thing with Michael. You listen to a Stryper album. Look, I got a Thea pedal in there, when Michael was doing it and the way he really, when they were doing the Yellow and Black Attack, just the way Michael and Oz came in there with their tonality set them apart from everybody on the LA Strip. Now,
Oh
here's
yeah,
the thing,
they're
Howie,
monster players.
for you to go in there and reproduce Oz's thing, how difficult was that? I'm not saying his playing, but to cop that tone to play next to Michael, how hard
Well,
was that?
I actually didn't in the sense that I wasn't trying to sound like Oz. And those guys knew and told me, be you, like bring your tone in. And I brought my regular travel rig in and I hit one chord. I go, what do you think? And Michael goes, perfect, let's go. So like I already had that kind of high gain vibe, but I don't sound exactly like Oz. And I learned the key parts of his songs and the solos and stuff. But there were a few areas where I'm like, I think I can be me right there for a minute or two and then come back to doing Oz's thing at the end of that little section or whatever. So they weren't, I wasn't told to specifically, you have to, and same thing, like we're talking a lot about Striper, but that's me filling in for somebody who had a health issue. Like with Winger, I'm a regular sub with that band. And I was told, when the solos that I do get in that band, which is quite a few, they're like, be you, do yourself. So I'm very fortunate, like the gigs that I get where they give me a lot of leeway, so to speak.
How hard is that with the fans who are there expecting to hear a solo of a Reb Beach or an Oz?
Well, no, hold on a second. I don't sub for Reb. I play with Reb. I sub for the other guy in the band, John Roth.
Oh, okay.
He's been in the band since 92 or 93.
Yep.
John also plays in the Mickey Thomas version of Jefferson Starship. I know there's two Starships out there touring, so that's why he does the Mickey Thomas one. And when Winger and Starship get double booked on the same weekend, he gives me his Winger gig. So I don't have to do the famous Reb Beach solos. Reb Beach gets to do those. So that's why I think that I get a little bit more leeway to be me. There is a solo spot for John during the show, and I do that obviously. And he starts it with a melody and some cool licks, and I do his stuff there. But then when it gets into the meat and potatoes of that section, I do me.
Very cool. And that's great because it allows you to have your voice.
Yeah, those guys are, I love those guys. They are the coolest people, the most amazing musicians with the great songs. And I'm thrilled and very lucky and fortunate and know how fortunate I am to get to do that gig and love it every time they call me.
Very cool. Jay, back to you. I hear, you got chicks giggling in the background.
Well, what can I say? I'm out at a live show, so that kind of stuff like chicks giggling is just going to happen. So, Howie, here's the thing for you. I was something kind of based off what I was listening to you say the other day, earlier, where you were talking about like putting your guitars together with your pickups and everything the way you like it and how much you like being hands-on. And it kind of got me thinking, have you ever had a gig or a situation where you were just stuck playing like somebody else's guitar or somebody else's rig and like everything was just kind of like going to hell? Or have you had like basically been relatively fortunate that you haven't had that kind of bad luck at a gig?
I'm pretty fortunate that I haven't had that kind of luck. Like I can shrug my shoulders a lot and go, hey, it is what it is. If you're in a situation like that, there's nothing you can do. You just got to get through it and do what you got to do. To be honest with you, Striper, when I first started playing with him, 2018. Yeah, it was the 2018 time. They had Oz needed me to fill in for like 3 or 4 shows, and in the middle of those shows, they were actually playing here in LA at the Whiskey A Go Go, and Oz was like, dude, I really want to do that one particular show because he's from here originally. He had family coming out. So he's like, do you mind if I do that? I said, mind, you do whatever you want. So, he played the gig and I went to it and wound up like sitting in with them on a couple songs. And I plugged into his rig to play and it was like, oh my God, what is this? I couldn't, it was so different from my tone that I was like, I could never play through this tone. I think I had No, I played his guitar too. Maybe I don't think I brought a guitar. So his guitar and his amp system, and I was for a minute I got scared, and then I just shrugged my shoulders and said, "Well, this is what it's supposed to sound like. This is the actual band." So I just went through it. But yeah, him and I have totally different feeling, guitars and sounds.
Oh, gotcha. I get you, dude. But that's the thing too with Oz. I mean, Oz is built around like a really meaty sound, a really, really tough sound. So yeah, I can definitely understand like that kind of adventure around like, playing his equipment or playing through like his kind of rigging to get that kind of like Striper sound to it for sure. Definitely, man, for sure. Exactly. Bobby, let me kick it down to you, my good friend. I shall be right back.
Okay, so Howie, this is going to be the fun part right now. Look, I'm the big geek out of everything, not just.
Is this the part where I show my wood?
Well, we can show that in a bit, but look, I grew up in the 70s where Saturday morning cartoons were the shit. So you did Ace Ventura Pet Detective theme song.
The animated one, yes.
Which kicked. Look,
I didn't write it. I just played on it, just to clarify that.
So how did that all come about? Which I just think is so badass.
I was playing with a singer at that point who I was working with at the time, and named Ken Tamplin.
I love Ken. Yeah, I'm a big 80s.
I would do a lot of recording with him, and he knew somebody who hired him to do that theme song. And Ken plays guitar great, but he was engineering the session, and it was easier for him, I guess. I'm guessing, I don't know, to have somebody just playing the parts while he worked his stuff. And so he brought me in on that, and I think I remember it was a long time ago, but I played bass on it too. But then I messed up, or I made some mistakes, and we didn't really. I know that my bass track was replaced later on when it finally came out.
So let's go to a little bit on Ken. So were you with him? Look, in the 80s, I worked with an organization called Come Alive Ministries. And that's kind of how I met Doug and Jerry and all those guys with Phil Kagi and everything. But when Ken was doing Shout, were you with him during that period? During the Magellan area? During, or was it when he left Shout and started doing his solo project?
When he started doing a solo project a few years later.
So with that, but Ken's got a lot of film credits under his belt. I know, you mentioned the cartoon thing, but he's done, oh God, Lionheart, Corner Sugar, Charlie's Angels, blah, blah, blah. I mean, were you involved in any of that end?
No, I don't think I was. I did some touring with him in the 90s and did a bunch of recording with him, but that one I don't know. Oh, Aaron Lee's here. Dude, I do have great hair. But Aaron is a bass player for Y&T, in case nobody realizes that.
There's a lot of Y&T. Look, we're from this area. Look, we're not just summertime girls, but everybody's Mean Street and everything. We're big Y&T people.
Oh my God, they were off the charts good on Saturday. They were so tight. And I know that they did 3 shows here in Southern California. I saw the third of them. And it was like they sounded better than ever. Aaron also, by the way, just to let everybody know and plug it, I know Aaron just came out with a solo record. So if you haven't checked it out, go on his page and please make sure you check it out, because I've heard a bunch of it and it's killer.
So Howie, what's it under?
Can you see? Does everybody see the same screen that I do when they're watching this? Okay.
I'm saying hi.
Yeah.
So Aaron, we want you on the show too.
Yes, I was ready to say the same thing.
There you go. I get a commission on that, by the way.
Yes, you do. I just text me your address after the show.
Yeah, Aaron, come on
out. Not the physical address, because he's a stalker.
So I got it right here. I'm seeing Aaron Lee.
because not only is he a great bass player, but he sings killer as well, and he's a great guy. So,
well, isn't that like a prerequisite? Being in Y&T, you just have to be overall awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why I never got the gig, but yeah.
He'll buy you dinner.
It's going to be sushi and lobster, just to let you know.
Oh, nice.
What a cool way to get a guest on the show. This is the first time that has ever happened.
True story. Thanks, Hal. I appreciate that.
See, this is what I do. I connect people.
Yeah,
Yes, you do.
Such
We
a
appreciate
maven.
that.
But yeah, Dave Meniketti sounded so good. I mean, I know that was their first shows in almost 2 years, I'm guessing, and their set list was so killer. I love that band and love all four of those guys are like almost like family. They're great, and Jill Meniketti, Dave's wife.
How about their wine?
It's such a great vibe around that band. Just even spend a couple minutes with them if you have it. Like, you have to go see them if you've never seen them.
Well, isn't there a documentary that just came out? It's
yeah, I'm in it actually. I'm in some of the extras. They interviewed me for it, and it's a great story. If you haven't.
Yeah, well, you're in it. Sammy Hagar's in it. It's a lot of things right there.
Yeah, and I've gotten, when I was playing with doing live gigs with Jeff Scott Soto, we had Dave and Phil Kennemore.
Wow.
The original bass player who passed away, unfortunately, he came up and played with us in San Francisco maybe 15 years ago or so, and Dave played with us the year before. So I've known those guys for a long time.
Awesome.
So now the new album, what they just put out, we're diverting from a lot of things. They just put an acoustic album out.
Oh yeah, I saw it at their merch stand, but I have not heard it yet. But I would love to hear that.
Well, I mean,
So
it's great.
Since I'm a latecomer, I like to ask a couple questions if we haven't heard them yet.
Oh yeah, Steve. Well, you're like that, Steve. You're Jewish, that's why. You're.
True story.
That sounds personal, Steve. That sounds kind of personal.
Security? How did this guy get in this room? Angel, dude, is this cool?
Look,
this guy, I don't know that
what
guy, but he said he came late, but
yeah, I just
Steve
know a guy.
always comes late. Jen even
he's the only dude with no
Steve
hair.
comes late.
Steve, you need to wipe off your camera lens because it's quite blurry there.
Yes, and you was making fun of
was
Bobby
just in
earlier for being
hobo.
blurry.
And I guess it's not
Hold on.
dirty camera. He's on that. He's on the Earthlink network. He's
How's that better?
No.
Hey,
Super
Howie,
grainy.
I wouldn't bitch. You still got that damn MySpace page on your link.
Yeah, I do. And I log into it just in case I get
I'm
somebody
like,
offers me
what
a
are
gig on
you
there.
trying to go after? 60-year-old MILFs?
Look at my website. My website hasn't been updated since 2005.
I
Yep,
know. We
December
sat there, and I'm
26th to be
like,
exact.
Oh my God. I'm like,
Well,
sitting
the day
there,
after
I got
Christmas.
penicillin going on to that
Nobody
thing.
looks at websites anymore. Everybody goes to Instagram or Facebook, and pretty soon I need to get a TikTok
Tinder,
page.
Grinder. Oh wait, they're the sites I go to.
I need
Sorry.
TikTok. I got to start dancing.
Guys, he still uses web TV. All right.
TikTok. I don't even know what TikTok is.
So
I'll
my
play TikTok.
question is, what was your first show, like your concert, that made you go, boom, I am going to do this?
That I played or that I went to?
Went to.
Oh, my mom took me to see Kiss in January of '78 on the Alive 2 tour. When I was
Yes.
in third grade.
Where?
The opening, we missed the opening band. We were there late.
Madison Square Garden?
No, Buffalo's Memorial
Buffalo.
Auditorium.
Okay. Right.
And the opening band, I think, was the Rockets.
Yes.
Yep.
And but I saw all of Kiss. I have some. My mom took like old school pictures, the square ones, and her finger is in the way of most of the pictures, but you can still see what we saw back then, and that was like pretty amazing for me.
Sweet. And you bought Kiss Alive 2 right after that, right? Or did
No,
you
I
already
think
own?
I had a couple Kiss records before that. the how I got into Kiss was they did, and I always thought this was like a weird memory that maybe I was wrong, but once YouTube came around, I realized I was right on this memory. They did a television commercial for the Rock and Roll Over album.
Yes.
And I was like, do I remember a commercial? And I couldn't remember if I saw it or didn't. And then I saw that it's actually a thing. And I saw that when I was a kid. I was like, oh my God, these guys have guitars. That's so cool. Wait, there's explosions. And they're like superhero. It was like everything I liked all in one package. And so somehow my mom knew that I saw the commercial, or I said something. I don't remember, but my mom had my grandmother buy me the record like within the week. And
Sweet.
I was like, this is the greatest thing ever.
And you know what today is, right? Today is the anniversary of The Elder came out.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, 40 years ago, The Elder came out.
I
Yes,
know you're all gonna hate me for this, but my love for old Kiss weaned as I got older, and I don't get that excited about it like I used to when I was younger. I was a fanatic for it up until about Love Gun, and then I just lost interest, and that interest, I mean, I'll go back and listen to some of it, but that's not where my love really is anymore. No, and it's not a reflection of the band.
Look, I understand it. Look, but I go
My
back
taste
for the
changed.
nostalgia end as well, like you. I remember the first Kiss show, but I still love going, even though, Tommy does a great job. Eric does a great. I go
Amazing.
there, and it's kind of like when you go to a Kiss show, it's kind of like, wow. It just hits you like a wave. It's like going to the beach. It's
Yeah.
not the same when you were 14, but it's still cool.
I know this sounds weird because of the music that I play, but my love over the last probably 10 years, maybe even more, has been all the 70s AM radio stuff. Like they're calling it yacht rock now, but like I went to see Christopher Cross and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool, so cool.
I love that you brought it up. How about the new fucking ABBA album? I just got it and I'm like totally digging it. I'm like sitting here going, oh my God, I'm really digging this new ABBA album.
Well, yeah, they've transcended the yacht rock thing, but they're a whole class on their own. I haven't heard it yet, but I know that it's out there.
It's really cool because it's almost like, oh wow, 40, however many years it's been since they put an album out, and you just go.
When I'm not doing the band stuff that we've been talking about, I actually hear around the LA area. A lot of the times they're private gigs, but I do a lot of solo acoustic shows where it's just me playing and singing, and I do tons of 70s one-hit wonder stuff. Ambrosia, Seals and Crofts, England Dan and John Ford Coley, I do a lot of Firefall stuff, Player, Atlanta Rhythm Section.
No Terry Jacks, No Season in the Sun. No.
That's not one of the ones that I like that much, but a lot of Hall & Oates stuff.
Well, I'm a Philly boy, so that's Blue Eyed Soul. So
Paul Davis, Cool Night. I just added that to my set list.
Love that song.
Yeah, so like that's literally all I listen to all the time and love playing it. And like when I'm doing sound checks with Striper and stuff, I pull that stuff out and play it, and everybody's like, "What did you do? What is that?" Like, really, dude?
And I'm waiting
Brandy,
for you to go.
you're a fine one.
We broke out and started doing Afternoon Delight. And I'm going.
I love that song. I do. My go-to at sound checks is Minnie Riperton's "Lovin' You."
All
Her
I keep
range
hearing,
is
every time I
ridiculous.
hear that, I keep thinking of the South Park skit on that.
Her range was ridiculous. Yes.
Right. And then the Vikings with You Make Me Feel So Brand New. Yeah, I'm all into that stuff too. Because like Lionel Richie, I absolutely love.
Yeah,
So.
amazing. Love
We're
Incredible.
all going to break out leisure suits in about, a couple minutes of the big lapels and everything. Look, I love that the Foo Fighters broke out and when
Bee Gees.
when they pulled that off, it was you should be dancing. What a great, God, I remember when Saturday Night Fever came out, and it was just like, okay, I'm a rocker. I'm a big Ted Nugent double live gonzo, but this album kicks ass.
Yeah.
True.
Travaris.
The thing about all those tunes, like, I know they're not balls out and hard rocking, but I've kind of grown tired of that. Like, I've heard hard rock, I play it all the time. Like the stuff, the thing about the yacht rocky type stuff, I don't love that term. I know it's a little derogatory,
Yeah.
but like, it's all real. Like, those songs were crafted very carefully to be very catchy. They're all actually sung, not messed around in a computer with Pro Tools and Melodyne, and it's like all the instruments were played by people and they had to be played perfectly. It's just real, and it sounds real. There's a certain vibe that music captured. All those songs by Bread are just ridiculously good.
Yeah, well, David Gates had such a beautiful voice. And the other cool thing is look, let's even go back to the TV shows that we watched, seeing What's Happening, and you've seen the Doobie Brothers on What's Happening, and you're just going.
I forgot about that. I'm gonna have to go back and find that episode. That's
But
awesome.
it's so badass on that, and the stuff we grew up with that makes you just go back and go, wow, this was really, hearing the Doobies back then, or waiting up for Don Kirshner. And, it was just certain things that you just go, yeah, this is some good shit.
Great shit.
Kansas. I mean, I went back and started digging old, really Left Overture, Bungle in the Jungle, going into that. And where are you going to find lyrics like that anymore?
No, Kansas is transcend. They still are. I saw them. Well, it was a while ago. I saw them about 15 years ago. They're amazing. They're just so ridiculously good. I haven't seen them with the new singer. The last show I saw was Steve Walsh was still doing it.
Yeah, I love Steve. Steve had a voice. Look, when he and Kerry Levgren were doing a lot of things, and Kerry, the really cool thing is how about when he did his Seeds of Change album and he brought Dio in?
Yep. I know they did that.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've heard that. I don't, you guys probably know. I think that didn't the violinist, Robbie, what's his face? Lockhart, is that his last name? Didn't he just pass away recently? Which is really sad. I got to see him back in the day, which was great.
Me too. You mentioned Christopher Cross, guys. Remember who produced him? Michael McDonald from the Doobie Brothers. That's why he sounded so freaking good on the first 2 to 3 albums.
No, I don't think he produced them. He's on the records. And Chris, I saw Christopher Cross. I don't know if you were in the conversation yet. I saw him play about 3 weeks ago down in Anaheim, right down the street from where the NAMM show happens. My girlfriend and I went, and he was so killer. And he announced that he's 70 years old.
Wow.
Right. And he just got over COVID too.
He had what we Googled
bad.
And he had a real bad case of COVID where he thought he was going to die.
Right.
And he said that Michael McDonald was down the hallway in the studio doing a Doobies record at that point, and somehow somebody invited him over to do the stuff that he did, and he came over and did it with them. But I think that record was produced by somebody else. I might be wrong, but I don't think he produced it.
Howie, the cool thing is you bring up that and everybody hears Sailing in their head. I hear the Arthur theme in my head, the whole Dudley Moore thing, and I'm just going, God, what a great fucking song.
When he played it, I sat there with my phone and I filmed the whole thing like that the whole time.
Look, I just went and seen the Monkees 2 weeks ago. Mickey and the dude who cuts my hair. Big shout out to Buddy Blanche. Mickey's his brother-in-law, but Mickey sounds amazing. And Mike, a good song is a good fucking song. I don't care who sings it.
That's true, no question.
Look, I work with. And he's out in LA a lot, but he's out here. Mark Hudson. We've had him on the show. Mark done a lot of shit, amazing hits, but the Hudson brothers and everything.
I used to watch that when I was a little kid.
Yeah, Mark kicked my ass and always says, Bobby, look, don't bore us, get us to the chorus. Everything it's all about getting people involved in the music. And when you can do that and connect with an audience, dude, that's magic.
I
agree.
totally agree.
So
You
the
know,
next
look-
question I have.
Oh, go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
All good. So you've played with all these great people, Beth, Michael, you played in Alcatraz. Is there a band that's on your bucket list that you haven't performed with?
I would have liked to have worked with Dio, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to happen now.
Well, alive.
I've always been a huge Whitesnake fan, and I would have loved an opportunity to do that. Doesn't look like I'm going to get that opportunity, but that's okay. I actually got a really nice text message from Joel Hoekstra today about some stuff, and I hadn't heard from him in a while since the COVID thing. But shout out to Joel, because he's great, and I'm so thrilled that he's killing it with the Whitesnake thing. But no, I mean I'm happy with the shows that the bands that I get to play with and the shows that I do. Just like any musician that you talk to, no matter what they're doing, that we all want to be more busy.
Right.
I'd like to play 365 days a year if I could. So even though it looks on social media like, oh my God, that guy's doing a lot I'm always worried, like, oh man, is my phone going to ring? Am I going to have work next week? So I've always been like that. Everybody's like, you're such a pessimist. I'm like, no, I'm a realist. I want to be doing as much as I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, Whitesnake, I don't know. Like, that would probably be the answer to that question. I'd love to do that gig.
Sweet.
Hey, Howie. So I want to ask you this. I mean, you played with a lot of people. Have you, look, you've been around the LA area. You've played with X, Y, and Z.
No, I never played with
How
that.
do you?
I never played with that band.
Well, hey, we're very close with Terry, so if you want to play with him, we can bring it in.
I know Terry very well.
What a great guy. But
He is.
look, we talked about being your voice, and we talked about the 70s and that, and how do you separate yourself nowadays to where people go, oh, that's Howie? Really becoming into your own, where everything is, look, I have my studio here. I get a lot of artists coming in. I have to have a Kemper. I have to have this. I have that. I'm like, what the fuck? Nobody plugs in and goes, oh my God, that's that Joe Perry sound. Everybody wants to be everybody else, and it all sounds like ass. But how do you separate yourself?
I've had a few drinks. I have no idea what you're talking about right
now. Okay, you're getting a gig. How do people pick you? How does Michael pick you over 10,000 other guitarists?
Well, now he knows that I can do it, and like I know the set, and like who else is he? Like, he doesn't want to work in a new guy, so I can do that, And the winger thing, the winger thing was. I told you I played with Kip. I actually met Kip at a NAMM show. I was drunk, imagine that, at a NAMM show after the show.
Oh, me too.
in the Hilton, like before they remodeled it, back when it used to be fun and relatively inexpensive compared to the way it is now. But I digress. And I met Kip was standing there. I'm a huge Winger fan, and when I say I'm a huge Winger fan, I'm actually a fan of all the records they did after.
So you were like a steward on Beavis and Butthead.
No, hold on a second. That's what I'm saying. I was a fan, like, from the Pull record, which came out in 90.
Oh, I was a fan from the first album.
The first two records I liked, but I was like, yeah, this is good, and they're great players. But once I heard Pull, Pull's a desert island record for me. That I think there's not a bad note out of place. That record is genius, and I've told Kip that many times. So and then they were gone for a while, and they came back and started doing the records in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s that a lot of people don't know are there. And I bought all of them, and they're amazing. So I saw Kip standing there in the lobby bar, and I just said, I'm gonna go talk to the guy. And I walked up to him. I go, "You're Kip Winger, right?" And he goes like that. Like, he's so used to people coming up to him and saying, "Dude, Beavis and Butthead, dude, is she still 17?" Shit like that.
Yeah.
And he like, you could see he got kind of cringed. And I said, that the new record, that first song, that the chord changes that you wrote, they're fucking brilliant. How did you come up with that? And you could see him just relax.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he realized, he goes, "You get it." And I go, "Yeah, I get it." And he remembers that. I just thought he would never remember. It was like such a short moment in time. And years later, we did the scrap metal thing for the first time. And he's like, "I remember I met you in the Hilton Library." I go, "You remember that? Wow." And he knew that I could play the stuff. And then like a couple years later, he calls me, or he texts me or called me. I don't remember. I play a lot of squash. If you guys know what that is, it's kind of like racquetball.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember I was getting on the squash court and I got a text from Kip Winger. "Hey, it's Kip Winger." He goes, "Can you sing this note this high?" And it was just like a weird question. I'm like, "Yeah." And I just said, "Yeah, I can do that." He wrote, "Okay, cool." And that was like, and then the next day, I think he texted me again, another question. "Can you do this?" Or it was like a strange thing. And he was like feeling me out to see what I was comfortable with doing. And then he had John Roth, the guy that I sub for, call me, said, "Look, we have a sub for me," because I get busy with Jefferson Starship, but one thing or another, he can't do it anymore. So we're looking for a new sub. Would you be interested? I said, "Hell yes." And it wound up being another 6 or 8 months before I heard from them again.
Yeah.
But then it wound up coming to fruition. So now I'm buzzed. And what am I talking about? What was the question?
No, it was the whole thing. How you get picked, how people bring you. Look, I'm 4 margaritas in. Look, we're on the same astral plane.
It's
Psycho
empty.
Steve. Psycho Steve's the
empty.
only one that's sober.
It's empty.
Well,
I know he's
no,
full when
what
I got
was
on.
saying is how they, look, you got a great personality,
He
and that's the key to.
I'm very good looking, Bobby. That's literally, my looks are carrying me.
Well, me too. Look, hey, look. I keep picking on Pinnock all the time. I said, "Look, you're not the only old gay man who plays rock and roll. It's me, Halford, and everybody else. It's not a sausage party just for you guys."
I get your question, but every situation's been different. I mean, the scrap metal thing, the list of guests that have come through that is off the charts cool. Like the guys that I've gotten to play a few gigs with. I played with Elliot Easton from the Cars and sang.
I played with Elliot. Yeah.
Pat Travers has done it a bunch with me. Barry Goudreau from Boston, Lita Ford, Stephen Piercy, Kip. I brought Graham Bonnet in. Derek St. Holmes and I are best friends from that thing.
I love Derek. Yeah.
So like all the guys that you probably know. So I mean, it's a small and getting smaller world of guys who are in that classic hard rock thing, and they know that they can rely on me and count on me to get the job done, if that makes any sense.
But here's the thing I'm finding out with you, just in our short time that you've been on. Similar to Phil X, look, you got to have your shit down, but you also got to be personable. John's not going to bring... Just because you can play doesn't mean you got the gig.
No, of course not.
And you know what I mean on that. Look, if you came in there, Tommy Thayer, everybody bitches at him, but I'm going, the reason Tommy's been in the fucking band, look at Tommy. He goes out, gives 110% and knows his shit, and, does what he does. Same thing with Eric Singer. So that's what I'm hearing from you. It really sounds like the reason why these guys seek you out, not so much, okay, you can do the gig, but you're not a douche.
Well, thank you for calling my friend a douche.
Why are these other two guys? Why is Angel laughing? What was so funny about that?
No, just about the douche part.
He does a lot of porn.
I'm just kidding. I get, you have to be able to quote, as we say here in LA, you got to be able to hang, man. Like, yeah, you have to be a good guy, and whatever gig you're on, you have to get the vibe, understand what's happening, and that's it. And realize I realize these gigs that I'm doing, they're not mine. They're not my gigs. I'm lucky I get to sub in, get the experience, get paid for it, have fun doing it. But at the end of the day, I'm not John Roth. I'm not Oz Fox. I'm not Frank Hannon. I'm just holding the fort down while they get through whatever it is they need to get through.
But you're the guy that they can count on, which is great. And it seems like that's what you're saying. And they're few and far between where it comes into an ego thing too. And everybody, look, YM is, I'm only just going to say initials. We've all been around the dude and it's been like, oh, what the fuck? But then you're around somebody like Mr. Vi and you're just going, oh my God, what a great fucking dude. Love hanging out with him. It's just something about him. Dave, who's playing with REO Speedwagon. And
Dave's a friend of mine. I love Dave.
I love Dave.
That guy.
Oh my God, we've been at Gibson together and everything. And another guy who came in there, and I was a huge fucking Gary Rath fan. And just to go in there, and I'm going, dude, they're the snobs who could go, you're not Gary. But I'm going, dude, he fucking went in there. And
look, when I do, I get it. And when I do meet and greets with these bands, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. People ask, like, I just got off. The last thing I did was the Chris Jericho Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea Cruise with Stryper. Just got back like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. My girlfriend and I went on it. I played 2 shows with Stryper on it, and I did the meet and greets with Stryper. And people bring up the old records for me to sign, and I'm like, I'll sign a piece of paper. I'll sign the set list. I'll sign whatever. I don't sign the old records from bands that I'm not on. I just like, guys, you don't want me on there. It's silly. You can come back, see the band next year with Oz. Let him sign it because he's coming back. And like, so I get my place in these things, and I think that's an important thing. Like,
but it's a nice compliment to you, Howie. Though
Yeah.
I mean,
of course.
for somebody bringing that up,
And that just shows your playing ability, because there's music people a lot of people make fun of it, but I'm just telling people, I'm like, if you honestly listen to it, and I'm not a musician, I have no talent, that's why I do radio, that you hear.
Who the fuck makes fun of me? I'll kick their fucking ass.
No, but I'm just saying in general, people make fun of Stryper and Winger and everything. I'm like, but if you dissect it, then the talent that's behind that band, it's like, holy shit. So
I know, and they've all. I've heard the stories of some of the stuff that those bands have endured through the years. I'm like,
but
man,
Kip wrote a beautiful ballet for San Francisco Ballet. I mean, there's things Kip has done that has been amazing.
He wrote a classical symphony that was nominated for a Grammy. He's a genius,
right.
That guy.
Kip's amazing, and it's the whole thing there. But, look, and they're not bringing schleps in. So never, look, Howie, I'm blown away by people like yourself. We're very close friends, all of us, with Steve Brown. I look at Steve and I'm going.
Steve was playing on the Jericho cruise. He has a killer like 80s show cover band thing called Rubik's Cube.
Oh,
they were
great.
They were on the boat. I got to jam with them at the end. It was so much fun. Steve is brilliant, and Steve's actually, I guess he gets the credit for me starting to fill in with Tesla a few years ago. They called him. He's like, I can't do that. Call Howie. He's the one who told Frank to call me. And I knew Frank, but Frank just figured I know Steve he can fill in. But I wound up doing it because Steve didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody knows, look, I'm very close friends with Earl Slick. And the great thing, Slicky did a book called Diary of a Side Guy, which is amazing. If anybody gets a chance to read it, Earl Slick played with Bowie, John Lennon, and hearing those, even the documentary 20 Feet from Stardom, everybody who's been on the side, look, they know their part. And they're credible. I mean, you look at the people who sing for the Stones. Fucking look at Steve Jordan playing drums for fucking right now with the Stones.
Yeah. It's a cool thing. Again, I would rather be permanently in something that I knew was going, but it's like the grass always seems greener on the other side of the fence. I would rather do that, but then I wouldn't get to do some of the things that I get to do being a sub type of guy. But like it was kind of cool because the second we did 2 shows, Stryper did 2 shows on the Jericho thing, and at the second one, Michael was introducing the band, and he said something along the lines of like, and over to my left where I was standing, he goes, I want to introduce, I don't want to call him a sub because he's not really a sub. He's almost like a 5th member of the band now that will, has been helping us out for 3 years. And like the way he worded it was really cool. And I was like kind of, moved for a second, like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
I'm lucky where I'm not playing with, and some of my friends do, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm not playing with big giant pop stars like, Rihanna or Gwen Stefani or whoever. Like, I'm not standing in a shadow in the back by my amp where I'm told don't move a foot. Like, I'm up front on the same front lines as all the guys that I play with a spotlight on me when it's my turn to solo or my turn to sing something. They all let me sing. They all let me do stuff. Like, I'm very fortunate to have the stuff that I do.
Look, Howie, you mentioned that. You and I probably know this gentleman, and he's very grateful. Paul Sidoti, who's playing with Taylor.
Ah, okay.
And
I know who he is. I don't know him, but I know who he is.
But Shredder, everything. And going back to Steve, what an honor to play with Def Leppard. You look at a band that's iconic and fills in for Phil and for,
both sides.
Both sides. And Tokyo Motor Fest, 40-Foot Ringo, Rubik's Cube, everything, wow. And he's loving life.
And he's such a great guy. We always have such a blast when we hang out and stuff. I wish I could see him more. We live on opposite sides of the country and stuff, but he's the nicest guy. PJ Farley was there because he's playing with Ozzy now, playing in Rubik's Cube with him as well. I mean, they're just such great guys. Who are we? Are we supposed to wave to the people?
Jay, we're gonna have Jay jump on now before he goes in there with he's probably with his harem.
He's got
Jay.
1, 2, 3.
That girl looks so happy to be on the camera. Did you see that?
No.
I know, Jay. Turn your camera.
He's muted.
You're muted.
Yeah.
Hello. Now we got to do sign language.
You're muted.
You're muted. Muted.
We can't hear a word you're saying.
Yeah.
You're muted.
Lips.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm
Now
here.
we can.
Okay.
Okay.
We can't fucking hear you. Got a question?
1 second. Be right back.
Oh,
Well,
I'm
Howie's
taking
not
a
even
break.
at his chair.
So we're going to do a last call for alcohol.
Yeah,
Me and
let-
my
yeah,
Jay
let's-
impersonation. So get your questions in.
oh my God.
That's the best Jay impersonation that I can do.
Okay. Talk about the puppy. We're all big.
We all love
Oh my
puppies.
God.
Who's that?
What's his name?
A Shih
It's
Tzu.
her.
Her. What's her name?
She's really my girlfriend's dog. Her name is Barbie.
Oh.
Thank you.
Barbie's an Imperial Shih Tzu. She weighs 4.5 pounds.
Oh.
Awesome.
So
My dog
Howie,
is-
real quick, are you a little pissed how they're doing how they're screwed up NAMM this year?
I don't want to get into the whole code. Every interview.
I'm on the board.
like,
Look, you can bitch. I'm on the fucking board.
I know. I don't like. It is what it is. What can I do?
But it fucked everybody because everybody tours this summer.
I know. What can I say? It's
And
like,
I laughed because, look, really pissed me off because I'm doing gay days in Disney in Orlando that weekend. I am not missing 5,000 facts. And I got Linda Carter coming down, so bullshit.
Yeah, it sucks. I'm curious to see how many companies pull out and don't do it. Like
They
yeah.
bitched about last year. I was at Nashville last summer, and
I heard that was empty.
oh my God! Thank God for the new Gibson Garage, which is JC and those guys. But yeah, it looked like it looked like a bad flea market.
Wow.
So what is next for you?
I don't have, like, being a sub guy, sometimes your calendar kind of empties up. I've got a bunch of recording I have to do here. My amp is sitting next to me because I've got to fire it up a little later tonight. But I'm doing I did a charity thing with a bunch of Swedish, and there's some American guys too, but it was run by some Swedish guys. It's called Save the Noise, and noise has a Z in it. I play on it. Key Marcello from Europe. D. Snyder's on the track.
Wow.
Michael Starr, Ralph from Steel Panther.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of other guys that are on it. It's a song and a video that's coming out next week. You can just look at my social media because I'll announce it. It's to help musicians who were adversely affected by everything being closed over the last couple of years. So that song comes out next week. I'm going to record a song for some friends back home in Buffalo for a charity thing, but it's not announced yet. So I'll just wait for the official announcement on that. And then I've got a couple recordings for some friends of mine here in town who are musicians who want me to work on some stuff. I've been playing with a local original hard rock band here in LA called The Hard Way. They've been around for a while, and their guitar player just moved out of town. So I started doing the shows with them. And usually what they do is they open for a lot of the bands that I play with almost always at the Whiskey. So we just opened for Firehouse. We opened for Jackal last month. And we've got a show with Dawkin and George Lynch. We're opening for them on December 17th at the Whiskey.
Sweet.
And then after that, the first of the year, I don't know what's happening. So I'm sure hope my phone will ring. But
hey, Howie, can I throw this out? Doing studio work here and everything. How can people that I work with who are looking for session guys say, hey, look, Howie Simon's here. Look, how can I tie you in with artists out here? I got Walt Lafty, who was in Silvertide. I got a lot of people out here who are always looking for other people to collab with and work with.
Well, Steve said he was going to be my agent, but we haven't come to an agreement yet. So
True. Being greedy bastard.
I guess you can just hit me. Just send me a message on Facebook. I'm on Facebook every day. It's a necessary evil. But
yes, it is.
I get people who hit me up on there all the time. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But
that's how I wound up working with Neil Zaza for like 3 albums. It was the whole thing, which is a great thing. People like yourself, and we really appreciate you taking the time tonight.
Yes.
No, this was fun. Can I do it again?
Oh,
absolutely.
Definitely, anytime. Look, I'd love to have you come out to Philly and do some shit out here.
I don't have to be the featured guy. Just let me be in the panel here on the side and ask questions.
Okay.
There you go.
You're always welcome.
Oh, we love that.
Usually when I do these things, I've done these before, but it's always like the music equipment gear ones where it's just like I can just see. I just feel everybody's falling asleep. Like, oh, geez.
No.
What about your fret radius and what kind of metal is in the screws and your pickers?
Oh, stop!
Oh gosh,
No,
I hate those damn boring shows.
Oh, look, if I'm going to talk about wood, it's going. But well, before you go, what is the one guitar you wish you could play? Is there one guitar that you, Buck? Oh my God, I'd love to fucking play that guitar.
We have a player own.
Whatever, because I probably have it.
That is true.
Let me tell you, when there's no COVID and no pandemic going on out here in LA, there's this thing that I'm always invited to. I don't know how you describe it. It's kind of like a social club.
Yeah.
We call it the Hollywood Gun Club. And all it is, it's a Monday night dinner, probably 3 or 4 times a year at a restaurant that happens, luckily, to be 4 blocks down the street from me. And it's guitar players, musicians, and collectors and stuff. But we all meet in the back room of an Italian restaurant. Everybody kind of goes in their little clique of people that they know. We sit and eat. And while you're eating, you get up and you walk to the other tables and visit with people.
Yeah.
But then people bring their instruments to check out, something they own, something they just got, some yada yada. But it's the guy who, it's Joe Bonamassa's tech, and I can't. I'm spacing on his name right now.
I know who it is. Yeah,
Rick.
I know.
It's his thing. So Joe's there a lot. I see Bruce
Wow.
Kulick there a lot. Even Eric Singer. Is that the dog? I didn't see.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's like a lot of really cool guys show up, and not just hard rock guys, but everything. But Bonamassa's brought some guitars for us to check, and he lets everybody touch them, play them, take pictures with them and stuff that are just like, you can't even describe how fucking cool they are. I got to play the first black Stratocaster that was ever made. I got to play a 1955 Cola Brown Les Paul that was not, it was made for an employee of Gibson at the time to take to a trade show, apparently. He took it to a trade show. The knobs were brown. It was a color they never did. And then this guy brought it home, and it sat under his bed for like 30 years till he died. Somehow Joe found out about it and bought it, and he brought it in, and I played it. It was, oh my God, these guitars are just insanely cool. And there's like 4 or 5 more that he brought, like early Les Pauls and early Strats.
So I'm going to have you piss off Joe the next time you see her. Joe and I were big Moody Leather guys. We were with Allison and those guys when I was with Joe. So we were at NAMM years ago. So look at this. This is a Telly. It's made out of, the guy who built it did Ferraris. He did, what the fuck was the guitar? I mean, the car from Back to the Future.
DeLorean.
DeLoreans. So it's basically the body off a DeLorean.
Oh, wow. That is really cool. What's the name on the headstock?
These are Gelatis. They were out of so Joe wanted this one. There's a picture of Joe with a orange one, and he's pissed off because he wanted this one because it was purple. And I said, no, I bought it.
Wow.
Purple?
That's really cool.
It's just badass. All DiMarzio's, DeLorean, mahogany, and
It's really cool looking.
Yeah, it is.
And so when you see Joe go, oh, I seen that purple gelati guitar that you wanted. But he's another one. Joe's great. I'll be in Nashville this weekend, and he's the great thing about him, I love that he plays his ass off, but he fucking loves his toys.
Yeah.
He and John 5, are just like, oh.
Yeah, his collection is ridiculous. Like,
So ridiculous.
And it's, look, again, we can't thank you enough, Howie, for you taking the time, and we would love to have you back on. And
for this last question from Brian, I know some people have an answer for that one. I really don't. I can't think of a situation where I saw an opening band where I was like, oh, they're going to be the best thing ever. I know some people can answer that. I don't have that story. Sorry. I wish I did, but I don't.
For sure. We definitely understand that. Absolutely, man. But Howie, dude, thank you so much, brother. It seriously was a pleasure. The beginning part, talking about gear, with Bobby and all that stuff, it was like super duper cool and really insightful. I loved when you were talking about like the Nelson twins and all that kind of stuff. So, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to spend it with us.
No, man. Yes. Thank you guys for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely, for sure.
So, Howie, we'll touch base with Steve. We'll get a couple things going, but this is great. We'd love to have you come out. Hopefully when Bradley does, a couple things in the spring, but having you come out and do whatever. It'd be great to get your butt out here on the East Coast.
Yeah,
Message them first before you send them a friend request.
What?
The manager,
hell did you say?
me as his manager, you have to send him a message first before you send him a friend
Yeah,
request.
I don't have a fan page on Facebook. If you want,
I
me
don't
to
do
add
that
you,
either.
at
I
least
just do it.
just send me a message while you're.
Yeah, I'll do it. You'll be like, hey, it's Bobby. It's,
Absolutely,
do you
for
remember we
sure.
were drunk on the Metal Summit? No.
Absolutely. But Howie,
That's-
again, thank you so much for taking the time, man. We really, really appreciate it so much. And Metal Summoners, we love you guys so much. You're fucking awesome. You tune in with us every week and you ask such bitching questions. So we really, really appreciate that. A quick thank you one more time. Like when I opened up the show, I got to say thank you to Jake Pitts and the Black Veil Brides. You guys remember Jake Pitts from an early episode of the Metal Summit. He's one of our alumni. So thank you so much for the hospitality of tonight out in Silver Spring. So thank you again, Jake. And thank you guys again. Support all of the social medias of the Metal Summit guys, as well as our pages. The Metal Summit Facebook and YouTube pages especially, since that's where we go live. And then, of course, follow Angel, Steve, Bobby, and myself on all of our socials. So hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on YouTube, and hit us up on our Instagrams, our TikToks, and all those other like super duper cool things. But again, on behalf of the Metal Summit, we thank you guys so much for Angel Alamo, for the Psycho Steve, for the Empress, Bobby Dreyer, and thank you again to Howie Simon for rocking with us.
Thank you,
tonight.
Howie.
I am Jay. Really good announcement, really exciting announcement coming for you guys on Friday. For any of you guys who happened to go to the BLE show on Sunday, you already know. And for you people that didn't go to the show, you guys missed out. But anyway, thank you guys.
Oh, bitch hit
We
me
will
and
see you
Angel
guys
because we didn't
real
go.
soon.
Really?
Guest announcement on Friday. We will be live on Wednesday. For all of the guys, we love you. As always, you've been watching the Metal Summit.